Hello and welcome back to UCL Review, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from the best sporting competition in the world. Joining me today for his first appearance on UCL Review of the new season, it's Christopher Hamill, the pièce de résistance of Football Daily. And Chris, we're kicking off in Bergamo, where your boys got a bit of a thrashing.
Yes, they got massacred, didn't they? I burnt my finger getting the garlic bread out the oven earlier, but Gasperini had his fingers well and truly burned, didn't he, by Jurgen Klopp's men in Bergamo. Their excellent start to the season continuing as they thrashed Ledea 5-0 with goals from Jota, Salah and Mane. Liverpool's new trident, maybe. Diogo Jota now has 7 goals in 5 starts in all competitions. You're going to break his game down in just a little bit, but I mean, this form is all the more incredible when you consider what key players they're missing. No Van Dijk, no Fabinho, Matip, Naby Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain have all been missing at various points this season, haven't they? But still, Liverpool sit 1 point clear at the top of the Premier League after 5 wins in their first 7 games, domestically speaking, and they now have 9 points from a possible 9 in the Champions League group stage and sit 5 points clear of second place Ajax. Gone off like a rocket, haven't they? It is worth mentioning, if we're going to do it for Liverpool, that Atalanta were missing some key personnel themselves. Gersons, Galini, Darun. But still, I mean, Liverpool was so good that their youth players, by the end of the game, probably 70 minutes onwards, maybe even beforehand, were just strolling through it like they were seasoned veterans, weren't they? I mean, props to Reece Williams and Curtis Jones, both 19, both starred in this game. Williams has now played in all 3 UCL games. I think he was playing conference or some level akin to that a year ago, and here he is balling out in the Champions League, and that has coincided with the first time they've kept 3 successive clean sheets in their first 3 games of a Champions League campaign. So his stock is up. And Jones, the most touches in the game, 86, a 93% pass accuracy, 2 dribbles, a tackle, and even without Henderson barking in his ear, you could hear Henderson going all game. It's fascinating insight. That guy does not shut up when he's on the pitch, and it clearly works, doesn't it? But yeah, he was without his captain for the last 30 minutes, and he just assumed responsibility in that midfield, taking the ball off his defence at every given opportunity. And this actually, weirdly enough, ends a terrible hoodoo for Jurgen Klopp. He had a really poor record in Italy with Liverpool. So they'd lost all 3 of their previous Champions League games in the country, to Roma in May 2018, to Napoli in October 2018, and also the Little Donkeys again in September 2019. And coincidentally, it was the biggest ever win by an English club away to Italian opposition. So what a way to end that hoodoo. He's well and truly banished those demons, hasn't he? I mean, only Sir Alex Ferguson has lost more Champions League games away in Italy than Jurgen Klopp, and only Luciano Spalletti in England has a worse record in an individual country even. I think he's lost all 6 of his games on English soil. Thought I'd throw in a stat there that sort of sullied Manchester United in the same breath that I was praising Liverpool, just to get the Red fans even more giddy. I mean, on the bench in this game, mate, so I had a quick look afterwards at the full bench. The likes of Milner, Firmino, Williams who also came on. But you've got Shaqiri, Minamino, Keita got minutes as well towards the end. Divock Origi. I mean, their net spend in the summer was only £30 million. Obviously, Diogo Jota was their big outlay, but then they recouped 20 plus million, didn't they, when they sold Ryan Brewster to Sheffield United. So what I wanted to ask you very quickly, just so we could, use it as a fire title for this episode of UCL Review. Have Liverpool assembled and developed, because of course we've got to mention the youth, the strongest, the deepest squad in Europe's top 5 leagues?
It's got to be right up there. I mean, I think they absolutely nailed the summer. They looked at their weaknesses. They brought in Tsimikas as well. They brought in Thiago as well for very little money up front, just fairly big wages. And even the Jota deal didn't turn out to be that much because Hoover went the other way to Wolves. And yes, Jota has worked out, better than anyone would have expected at this stage, but he did look like a really promising signing at the time. In terms of the best squad in Europe, I think in terms of midfield depth, it's got to be right up there. The fact that Naby Keita is fifth or sixth choice, the fact that we're not even mentioning Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who's missed the entire season so far with injury, it's just unreal depth. I think Bayern might have better depth all across the side. The fact they can bring in Luca Hernandez, a World Cup winner, for Alphonso Davies, just sort of sums them up, except in a striking position where it's Choupo-Moting back up to Lewandowski. But I think Liverpool probably second in the world to Bayern for me.
Yeah, I mean, an outstanding answer. Atalanta's form going into this game, I back Atalanta every given opportunity, and I do love that they played a tremendously high line with no genuine pace of their own at the back, by the way. Hateboer, not quick. The likes of, who else? Toloi, not quick. But they just, stood on the halfway line against the likes of Mo Salah and Sadio Mane from their own corners. But they weren't in great form going into this game, were they? A little bit mixed, Dukes.
Yeah, definitely. At least defensively. I mean, in their last 3 league games, they had lost 4-1 to Napoli in a game they were completely dominated. Then 3-1 to Sampdoria, and only just scraped past newly promoted Crotone 2-1 at home this weekend. Now, only Sassuolo have scored more than their 17 league goals to date, but only 5 sides, none of which are in the top 11, have conceded more than their 13 goals. So Gasperini, we give him heap praise on him on this channel over the last 2-3 years for always sticking to his guns, always going for this attacking, fluid football, but maybe needs to change his style slightly to shore up at the back slightly.
Come on.
And it's no surprise when they let the quality of shots that Liverpool had in this game. I mean, Liverpool had 15 shots, but 12 of which were on target, which is just absolutely insane. It was just, poor Sportiello and goal. It was just the floodgates were open. Atalanta, they still managed 9 and 6, so you can clearly see that the issues are at the other end. Their form in Europe actually had been okay going into this though. After losing their first 3 group stage games last year, Atalanta had gone unbeaten their last 5 in the groups and only lost against PSG in the quarterfinals, but this was an absolute rout. Man of the match, Jota, it's got to be. 4 shots, average of 4.2 per 90 this term, which is actually only bettered by Mo Salah in the Liverpool squad. 2 dribbles and 3 goals, some really decisive finishes from him as well. Just instantly looks at home in that Liverpool front line. And I was scrolling back through some group chats to try and mug off my mates earlier who were saying that Ismaila Sarr was the player to go for over Diogo Jota. I mean, how wrong have they been proved by this performance and many other performances so far from the young Portuguese? He's now going at a goal every 56 minutes in the Premier League and Champions League so far this season. He will take some going though to match up to Salah though, who has 30 goal involvements in 36 games in the Champions League for the Reds. He simply is the difference maker for Liverpool in this competition over the last 2 or 3 years. What it means for the group, well, it's still relatively tight, at least for second place. Liverpool have got 9 points, as we said. Atalanta sit third after Ajax defeated Midtjylland in Denmark. Up next for Atalanta, they host Inter Milan this weekend, looking for just their second win in 8 games against the Nerazzurri, whilst Liverpool travel to the Etihad this Sunday. Chris, before we move on to our next section, what's a quick score prediction for this weekend between Liverpool and City?
Oh, you've caught me cold here. Right, okay, I think Liverpool are going to edge it 2-1. Do you know what I was actually thinking about there? It was the Atalanta left-back's debut cap in the UCL, and he was up against Mo Salah in the frightening form that you mentioned, Mexica, the Colombian. Poor lad. That's what I was thinking about there. R.I.P. Pour one out for him, but I'm also going to go Liverpool over Manchester City. What are you saying?
I'm going to go, same. I think I'm going to have to go Liverpool. I don't think I've been that impressed with Man City, particularly in an attacking sense so far this season. I'm going 3-1 Liverpool. Guys, get your score predictions for that game in the comments down below, and let's move on to our second match.
Rounding off the show then, it is Los Blancos who continue their upturn in form with a 3-2 win at home, I was going to say, but they're a training centre, weren't they? I want to call it La Fabrica, but I don't know if that's what they refer to it as. Anyway, did it pick up in the second half, Dougie?
Yeah, it did pick up. It was quite a slow start to the game. We did a little Instagram live on Chris's Instagram at halftime, and I was sort of saying that Real Madrid were definitely on top, but actually Inter Milan came back into it through goals from Lautaro Martinez and Ivan Perisic after Benzema and Sergio Ramos opened the scoreline. And in the end, it became quite nervy for Real Madrid until Rodrygo scored the winner. But it was a massive, massive game for Real Madrid. They were under serious pressure going into this game. They were bottom of Group B after defeat at home to Shakhtar and a 2-2 draw away at Gladbach. And if they failed to win, it would be 5 Champions League games without a win, their worst run in their history. Weirdly, their league form has actually been okay though. They've lost just once all season domestically against Cadiz, newly promoted Cadiz, 1-0. And they've scored 7 goals in their last 2 games against Barcelona and Huesca. And
the
Zidane
game against Huesca, just to interrupt, I saw Zidane describe that, and maybe the game against Huesca, as a cup final. That's where we're already at with Real Madrid this season. Every game's a cup final, lads.
Absolutely, and he said exactly the same thing before this game as well. He has been under a lot of pressure, and he could welcome back the hero of their previous cup final, Eden Hazard, for just his first UCL start of the season. But they were still without Carvajal, Nacho, Odegaard and Eder Militao, who had tested positive for coronavirus this week. So it was still Lucas Vazquez at right back, and he actually did okay. They raced into a 2-0 lead, as I said. Benzema opened the scoring after an awful back pass from Hakimi, who didn't have the best of nights on his return to Madrid. The Frenchman has now scored 67 Champions League goals. That's just 2 behind Lewandowski and 5 behind Raul, who's the 3rd top scorer in European Cup history behind Ronaldo and Messi, and still doesn't feel like he quite gets enough plaudits for his Champions League form over the years. Benzema, an absolute machine at that level. And their second goal came from the head of Sergio Ramos from a Toni Kroos corner. Ramos now has 100 goals for Real Madrid. Absolutely insane. Interestingly, he's actually scored 3 fewer goals than Bobby Firmino since the start of 2018-19 in all competitions. I feel a bit unfair saying that because Bobby Firmino is coming in for a lot of flack at the moment, but the stats don't lie. Ramos is an absolute beast in both boxes. And after some nervy moments in the second half, Los Blancos sealed the win with an excellent Rodrygo goal from a Vinicius Jr. cutback. Zidane will be particularly pleased with that goal because both came on as second half substitutes. That's actually the 19-year-old's first goal of the season, but get this, his 5th in 8 Champions League games. So the 19-year-old, absolutely loves the biggest stage of all. But Chris, disappointing result for Conte.
Well, you mentioned there that Real Madrid had got off to an inconsistent start to the season, right? It's been exactly the same for the Nerazzurri and Antonio Conte. They've only won 1 of their last 4 league games, and they've also failed to win either of their Champions League games, drawing 2-2 at home to Gladbach and drawing 0-0 away at Shakhtar, like you mentioned prior. They've actually dropped to 6th in Serie A, 5 points off arch rivals AC Milan, who are spearheaded by 49-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic, just 3 years younger than Dougie Critchley. Now, the stats going into this game suggested they'd been slightly unlucky in Europe, though, when you looked under the hood. Now, they were averaging 14.5 shots a game, which was the 6th best in Europe, and just conceding 5 against, which was the 3rd best. So that shot differential of 9.5 was actually level with today's opponents, Real Madrid. So just an interesting comparison there between domestic form and European form. And they've also had some injury issues as well. Much like all the top teams, it seems at the moment, missing Romelu Lukaku, who has been just electric so far this season, hasn't he? Scoring 10 goals in 9 games for club and country already this term. And in his absence, Conte started Perisic, who largely struggled partnering Lautaro Martinez, although, like you said, back on the score sheet. And I suppose being in the game or putting in a performance was just as important as stealing a point. And I do think Conte will be disappointed by the lack of control they exerted at sort of any point in this game. Real Madrid had 55% possession, dominated the aerial battles with, I think they won 10 to Inter's 3. Both teams fired off 12 shots, but Real got 7 on target to Inter's 3, so there's a bunch of half chances in there really. Lautaro Martinez, as he does, he puffed 1 dribble, 4 key passes, 3 shots, 1 goal, 1 assist. I think they were his first goal contributions in 6 games though. So he's really been nullified at shooting blanks, as it were, Laurent Blanc's at the start of this season. But there we have it. He's hit a little bit of form in this game. Maybe that's a silver lining for Conte, his best player, bang at it again. For Real Madrid, Fede Valverde. I'm getting all aboard the Fede Valverde wagon. He's getting the praise he's been due, isn't he, at the start of this campaign. 7 tackles and interceptions. Does all the dirty work, all the hard yards for Los Blancos in that midfield space, doesn't he? Man of the match, though, probably fell on Mendy. Mm-hmm. One of your boys, mate. You absolutely love Mendy, don't you? 6 tackles and interceptions in this game. 1 aerial duel, 3 dribbles, and forced Hakimi for the first error, if memory serves me correctly. Gladbach smashed Shakhtar 6-0, didn't they, away from home. So the group is now wide open. Gladbach have 5 points. I think Shakhtar 4, should really write this down. Real 4 and Inter just 2. Up next, though, Real Madrid face Valencia this weekend in the league, who are languishing in 13th. Who would have thought it after jettisoning all their best players? Top work, Peter Lim. Go and watch my one-on-one on Valencia as well if you've not watched that yet. Yes. That'll explain the situation in full. And Inter Milan face a huge test against Atalanta, because one of these teams is going to bounce back, unless it's a draw, of course, which it never is when you're facing Gasperini's men. Someone will clip that out now. It'll be a bloody draw, won't it? On Sunday. So it's I think they're the second top goal scorers in the division, only bettered by Sassuolo. So like I said, hopefully there's going to be fireworks. A little bit piecemeal at the end there from me, but it's a late one, isn't it, Dukes?
It is
what
indeed.
Should people go and watch now we've got to the end of this show? Did you have any more notes on the game, and what are we going to tee them up for next?
No more notes on the game. I think we've kind of summed it up well enough there. I think Real Madrid, if they hadn't won this game, it would have been really, really disappointing with the amount they dominated it. Lautaro Martinez was very effective on the break and really did have some fantastic tussles with Sergio Ramos, but they're just a completely different side with Lukaku in it, and it wasn't really their night, Inter Milan, despite what the scoreline suggests. In terms of what you should go watch next, go check out the Football Pyramid from the weekend. We welcome back Kieran Carlin back to Football Daily. He took on Michael McCubbin. And go check out Friday's Continental Club as well, where we're talking about Champions League dark horses. Lots of great content across Euro Football Daily. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.